what happened in all of the games from around the National Football League. That's what we're going to tell you here on the Week 12 Instant Reaction. It's Tampa Bay 30, the Giants 7. Of course, this is how it went. But Baker the Baby Maker with 294 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs. Everything was on the ground. Mike Evans returned 5 for 68 in this one. Bucky Irving was 6 for 64 as a receiver. More on him as a runner in a little bit. Cade Otton with 1 for 30. Everyone else had like a catch. Sterling Shepard had 5 catches, 16 yards. Nobody's starting him. But get this. Bucky Irving, 12 for 87 and a touchdown. Rashad White, 12 for 37 and a touchdown. Baker Mayfield, 4 for 29 and a touchdown. Sean Tucker, 4 carries, 3 yards and a touchdown. So everything they did was on the ground. Everything they did was defensively. We'll talk about how they handled. I can't believe they handled Tommy DeVito.
Right.
But let's talk about the Buccaneers and what they did do to get that win on Sunday.
Yeah, and this team is not out of it. This team could run the table, end up 11-6, win the division.
Maybe one of the most dangerous teams that's like on the auxiliary. It's like, I don't want the Bucs to get hot.
No, and Baker Mayfield's hot in the short passing game. Now, Mike Evans comes back. He's a solid play. He'll be fully back to full speed next week against Carolina. But otherwise, Mayfield completed passes to 11 different receivers. Do teams even have 11 different guys eligible to catch a pass active on most days? You also saw him soaring into the end zone, giving up his body on his rushing touchdown. And then when Bucky Irving had a 56-yard run, who was out there lead blocking 50 yards downfield? Baker Mayfield. So showing athleticism on that play, honestly, and toughness and leadership. And this team's exciting. Baker Mayfield's exciting. Sean Tucker got the first touchdown. He was in for the second touchdown opportunity when Bucky Irving got down to the 1, but he fumbled. Bucky Irving eventually gets a touchdown. They scored a field goal on that drive. Again, Rashad White with the touchdown. But it's Bucky Irving, not truly a lead back in the committee, but certainly in your lineup every week after this performance that we saw. And again, Tampa, this is a team, a good team. Don't look at the record. Watch this team play. Know that they're the only team, the 1 in Detroit's record. That's Tampa. And the 1 is the pick that the Giants are going for.
Yes, because they don't want to play Tommy DeVito or even Drew Lock. Tyrone Tracy with 9 for 42. Devin Singletary had a rushing touchdown. Nobody started him. Malik Neighbors, 6 for 64. So at least there was an emphasis there for DeVito to make that happen. 5 for 47 for Wan'Dale Robinson. But yeah, it's disaster time for the G-men.
You mentioned Neighbors. You got to kind of feel sorry for him. Look, Tommy DeVito looked like a third-string quarterback. So Will we see Drew Lock on Thanksgiving? Maybe, maybe not. This is not a tough defense. Tampa Bay's defense is not a tough defense. Now, they do face a lot of weak offenses down the stretch to get that Tampa Bay defense, although Carolina's offense, not so weak, spoiler alert. Neighbors didn't catch a pass until the second half, until the game was already over. And every week, Cecil, it's the same. They ask him questions, and he says, ask the coach, ask the coach, ask the coach, ask the coach, So you feel for him. Maybe they'll get him a quarterback next year. Tyrone Tracy, you feel for him. Another fumble in the red zone. After the last game, he fumbled in overtime and basically lost the game. Didn't see a lot of him after that. Devin Singletary with a garbage time touchdown. So Tyrone Tracy might be down in what the heck flex range. High ceiling, what the heck flex. But remember, no one on bye in week 13. So not an automatic play. Tommy DeVito got a little banged up at the end of the game. So that may make a better case for Drew Lock to play. I can make no case for you to watch the Giants and the Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
Let's watch or listen, I guess. The next one we already watched. Chiefs and Panthers. I'm on one tonight, Bloom. Not seriously on one, Joe. Hey, buddy, can you stop talking about the edibles, buddy?
Only one?
Only one. Medical grade, Bloom. Medical grade. Let's talk about Kansas City 30, Carolina 27. What? All right, Pat Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, no INTs, 269 through the air. 4 for 66 and 2 touchdowns. Noah Gray. There is a waiver wire tight end for you. Travis Kelce, 6 for 62 in this one. DeAndre Hopkins, 5 for 35 and a touchdown. Xavier Worthy, 4 for 46. Kareem Hunt, 16 for 68, what might be his last game as the lead back with Isaiah Pacheco nearing a return. Mahomes also had 60 yards rushing to benefit his fantasy day. The story's really on the Carolina side and how they were able to stay with it.
Yeah, one of the games of the day. And not because Kansas City underachieved, at least on offense. Patrick Mahomes was dealing. And part of the reason Patrick Mahomes worked out for you, other than Patrick Mahomes' excellence, he's back to that excellence level, is Bryce Young played well enough to force Kansas City's offense to continue to push the ball downfield, including one touchdown to Noah Gray, another short touchdown to Noah Gray. So now we're looking at 2 games in a row with 2 touchdowns for Noah Gray. That's not a coincidence. We'll be talking about him on the Waiver Wire show tomorrow. You also had Travis Kelce doing enough. So that's a relief that Noah Gray can do that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that Travis Kelce is going to be a dud. And Carolina was actually holding Kansas City to field goals. It was a game where both defenses were playing bend, but sometimes break. You did see DeAndre Hopkins at least getting a touchdown in this one. But if you have Kelce and Gray and Hopkins and Smith-Schuster and Worthy and maybe soon enough Hollywood Brown, Patrick Mahomes can have a good fantasy day and not a lot of good fantasy days in our lineup. Otherwise, even Kareem Hunt, probably the last game that we'll be playing Kareem Hunt. Isaiah Pacheco probably back Black Friday. We'll see against the Raiders. Kansas City sweats out this win because, you give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes under 2 minutes in a tie game. You know what's going to happen.
He's gonna get you. That's right. And the edge pressure gets to Mahomes because they're not blocking real well for him. So we'll see how that figures out. Bryce Young's playing good football, man. Happy for him. 21 to 35, 263, 1 touchdown, no INTs. David Moore, 6 for 81 and a touch. Adam Thielen, 3 for 57 in this contest. Xavier Legette, 4 for 56. Jatavian Sanders, love him in Dynasty, 3 for 49. And then Jonathan Brooks played, 2 for 7. Okay. Chuba Hubbard played 16 for 58 and a touchdown. So it's like it's a committee. And Brooks' return, and I believe in our Football Guys Newswire, I was like, we're excited about him. He's like a what the heck flex. So it was curious that, okay, Brooks is there, but 2 carries? Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. This is your Al Capone's vault of 2024 fantasy football. Look it up. Hopefully this is just all culminating in them having a great backfield with maybe Bryce Young taking snaps in that backfield. I think after this game, Cease, we have to ask the question, is Bryce Young playing himself back into this team's plans? This team's playing hard. This team, unlike the Giants, this team is actually putting out effort for their coach. And Bryce Young's playing good football, like you said. And who's benefiting for fantasy? Jalen Coker was out, even though Dave Canales said on Friday they expect him to play. Well, Adam Thielen had a big play. Xavier Legette had a big play. Adam Thielen also drew a long pass interference, but it was David Moore. Now, if Coker's back next week against Tampa, a good matchup for the passing game. We want to get players in against Tampa, unless it's Tommy DeVito, quarterback. Who are you going to play? Well, what might narrow this target tree, Jatavian Sanders comes down on his head. Scary play. Had to be taken off on the backboard. But I think he's okay, and they're monitoring him. I don't think we're going to see him next week. It's not impossible. But that may narrow the target tree a little bit to take a chance on a Moore or a Thielen or a Legette as Bryce Young is playing better. And this team settled for field goals a lot. They could have been in position to control this game. And that's actually more where you would expect Bryce Young to be at in his development. Good enough to stay in the game with Kansas City. And if he can start turning more field goal drives into touchdown drives, now we're talking. So this is one of those cases where a moral victory matters, and they'll be looking for another one, or maybe an actual W in the standings against Tampa next week.
In the really real world, we'll see what happens. And we'll see our next contest. This was strange. The Cowboys won. That was what's most strange. 34 to 26, thanks to special teams, right? Because the Commanders are fighting back, and then all of a sudden, nope. There you go, Kavontae Turpin. Big return for him. But before we get to that, Cooper Rush, 247, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. It was Luke Schoonmaker doing his Jake Ferguson, Peyton Hendershot impression. 3 for 55 and a touchdown. They're all the same. Jalen Torble, 2 for 22 and a touchdown. Jake Ferguson's better. Don't at me, bro. 10 for 67 for CD Lamb. And then Rico Dowdle, 19 for 86 on the ground. And there you go. Throw in Turpin's return. Throw in some defensive frustrations for the rookie quarterback and a couple of picks by Jaden Daniels. And you have the recipe for a Cowboys win.
Yeah. Forget about I think we can stop asking about Deion Sanders and Shadur Sanders in Dallas.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a costly win. A lot of these wins for these teams that aren't doing so well, costly in the draft. category. But we learned some things. Cooper Rush did good enough. This game was 10-9 going into the fourth quarter. Remember what Cecil said? 34-26. The game was 10-9 going into the fourth quarter, which is about what you would have expected. Not if you expected Jaden Daniels to play better, but that's for in a second. 4 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes, I think, in this game. Strange game. But what was not strange was Cooper Rush in the short passing game, eventually taking some passes downfield that were working. But at least we know Lamb is going to stay in the lineup. The tight end is a viable play, whether it's Jake Ferguson on Thanksgiving or Luke Schoonmaker, who got a touchdown on this one. Rico Dowdle, even though he was kind of benched in the second half after dropping passes last week in a blowout loss in a close game, performs pretty well. At least a flex play going forward. Clearly the lead back. I think you said there's that Tolbert touchdown. Then you have this game, back and forth game late, where you have Turpin, who does have a legit claim as the fastest player in the NFL with a kickoff return touchdown. And then you saw an onside kick. All the great game theory people, folks, on social media saying, how dare he return an onside kick for a touchdown? Well, if I was in on the onside kick team, I know it's not strategically the right thing. You see all green grass in front of you or green turf. So a pride win for Mike McCarthy. And again, unlike the Giants, the Cowboys were playing hard in this game. They're playing for their coach. They're playing for the team. They're playing to give a divisional opponent a black eye, a divisional opponent now that was one of the happy stories for the first 2 months. Not as much in November.
Yeah, not as much. Now let's get to Jaden Daniels here. The rookie is going to play like a rookie sometimes. 275, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs, and he also has a ribs injury that it's there. 7 for 74 and a touchdown. Also got a 2-point conversion. Yes, am I misremembering that? I saw Austin Eckler blocking for him, so I was like, way to go, Austin. 9 for 22. Damn it. Then we see Brian Robinson with 5 for 13. Damn it. These are a bunch of damn it plays, except for Terry McLaurin, because he's amazing. 5 for 102 and a touchdown. Thank you. Noah Brown, 6 for 71. Zach Ertz, 6 for 38 and a receiving touchdown there. And the Commanders is still 7-5, but, this one stings the nostrils.
Come in. I'm back.
Yes.
We're
New
back.
Orleans Internet. We're back.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is a different plane. This is definitely on a different plane. And Jaden Daniels' play has been on a lower plane since we've seen this rib injury. He did have the miracle long touchdown to Terry McLaurin, followed by a missed extra point. They used up all their juju. He also had a rushing touchdown as the offense was terrible. Washington's offense in the first half and Dallas's defense, getting Micah Parsons back, playing with more pride, playing better. But the offense was terrible. Brian Robinson in and out with an injury, out in the end. But then Austin Eckler, also concussion, trying to set up another Hail Mary chance late on a kickoff return. So we may see against Tennessee Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez. You saw a short touchdown for Zach Ertz, short receptions for him. And again, McLaurin, I don't know how Dallas can somehow let him run through their whole defense for 86 yards. So that saved you. McLaurin was not going to be a good play for you until that happened. And the Daniels game might have saved you. And you might look at this stat line and say, oh, he's playing better now. No, that was just a crazy game at the end. And they also were in desperation mode in the second half. So again, Washington, they're going to have to turn this thing around, as it's really easy to see them slipping out of the playoff picture if they're losing to teams like Dallas next week against Tennessee. Again, if you lose to a team like Tennessee, well, Houston's going to go to the playoffs, and they lost to Tennessee. Spoiler alert. But still, Washington, this story is changing very quickly.
Yeah, changing quickly as they often do around the National Football League, and then Miami can't stop scoring. That's the headline. It's the headline. Headline Sports. What was Jerome Drenovich on CNN?
Jerome Drenovich, Headline Sports. I always remember Vanny All Right. Headline Sports. He had a little bit of a southern tinge.
Jerome, a big Steelers fan. I remember having dinner with him in Denver years ago, and I was like, "Who's the best Steeler of all time?" And he stumbled and fumbled around, and I said, "You listen here, Jerome Drenovich. It's Mean Joe Green, because Sigmund, the most important Steeler of all time.
Oh gosh,
it's Mean Joe Green.
Oh, that's where it all turned around. They named the team after him at North Texas, the Mean Green. So that's all you need to know. Not that Mean Green. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, there we go. Always getting it in. Hey, buddies. 34-15, the final score. New England goes down. They are 3-9. It's whatever. They're figuring stuff out this year. Drake May, figuring him out, 22 of 37, 222, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, sacked 4 times. Demario Douglas, 5 for 62. Austin Hoopa, 4 for 59 and a touchdown. Hunter Henry, 5 for 44. Kendrick Bourne, 3 for 30. And then Antonio Gibson leads the way on the ground, 6 for 31. Ramondre Stevenson only 8 for 13 in this one. So again, Bloom, I ain't mad at you. Not mad at this team at all whatsoever, because they're just, just kind of get their feet wet this year.
Yeah, and the Dolphins defense has really come on, and the New England defense is not very good. Confusing, though, Antonio Gibson now looking pretty good and having a role early in the game, or Ramondre Stevenson, because they were trailing a dud this week. And because of their defense, you wonder, Ramondre Stevenson has been anywhere from a strong running back to sliding now back down into that what the heck flex territory. Lots of penalties for New England's offense, too. Just a really choppy, bad game for New England's offense. You did at least have an Austin Hooper garbage time touchdown. You got enough if you played Demario Douglas and Hunter Henry. You know that May is going to rely on them. And again, we say this every week, best of both worlds. You got your quarterback. You can maybe have your coach. We'll see. Probably you're not sure that you don't have your coach. So let's give Jared Mayo another year. And let's see what they do against Indianapolis, cruising to that top 5 pick. Maybe that's where Travis Hunter will end up.
Yes, maybe. And then maybe you're frustrated because Jalen Waddle. You know what? I'm just going to put him on the bench until he blows up. Well, guess what he did today? 8 for 144 and a touchdown. Jonnu Smith, 9 for 87 and a touchdown. Devon Achane, 3 for 24 as a receiver and 2 receiving touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 5 for 48. Devon Achane, also 10 for 32 on the ground. They just didn't run. They just passed, and they won big time. And the 4 touchdowns, all for Tua Tagovailoa, 317 yards passing to go with it.
Yeah, so Anthony Richardson next week against New England. Don't give up on him quite yet. All right, we'll get to his performance today. But Tua's performance was nearly flawless. And look, this is 7-0 now against New England for Tua and Mike McDaniel. They just own this defense. Doesn't matter. And it's still the same bloodlines, even though it's not the Belichick defense anymore. So they just own this defense. So this maybe in hindsight wasn't that hard to see coming with Waddle having that excellent game. And what you saw finally for the first time this year was downfield passing and space open in the defense that they could take advantage of. It looked pretty easy out there. And you wonder if Waddle's going to be worth more than one Tyreek Hill for the rest of the season. But will either of them be worth more than Jonnu Smith? This has come into focus. Yeah, this has come into focus. And he always had this in him going back to Tennessee. It's just a question of usage. And when we saw the Dolphins go out after him, and this is another good example. Hey, you have a new acquisition. First few weeks, it wasn't quite clicking with Jonnu. It is clicking now. And when this offense is opening things up downfield, that just creates more space for him to operate in the middle of the field. So defense set up a Jalen Waddle score, a couple of easy touchdowns. That's the other thing about this team. When they're clicking, the touchdowns are easy. You see some games, there are a lot of touchdowns, but the players have to grind it out at the goal line. The defenses stiffen up. Miami's plays at the goal line, walk-in touchdowns for Devon Achane. And Miami is coming on. Again, AFC is really interesting. You got Miami, you got Cincinnati, you got Denver. You have some interesting teams if they can just get into the playoffs. But Miami also has to go to Green Bay on Thanksgiving night when it's going to be like 33 degrees. So not often 33 degrees in November in Miami. Let's see if this team can play some cold weather football.
Yeah, that's right. Let's see why Houston lost. And most importantly, why Tennessee won. 32-27 is the final score. Titans are 3-8. Texans are 7-5. This one stings as well. Will Levis, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. It's Calvin Ridley with 5 for 93. It's Chiggy, only 1 catch, but it's a 70-yard touchdown. I love Chiggy so much. Tyler Boyd, 6 for 55. It was Nick Westbrook-Akine with a receiving touchdown, couple of catches, 40 yards, receiving touchdown. Tony Pollard, 24 for 119 and 1 rushing touchdown. So how did they do it? Well, there's your examples, Bloom.
This was pretty wild, this game for Tennessee. And don't think that all of a sudden Will Levis is playing better. He was kind of better. I mean, this is the classic Will Levis. A pick 6. So he threw 3 touchdowns, 1 to the other team. A pick 6. And newsflash, somehow, see, fantasy players don't account for Nick Westbrook-Akine, and neither do defenses, because once a week, he just gets behind the defense inexplicably for a long touchdown. let's talk about Chiggy Okonkwo, because this is one of your dudes, and as he should be. You want to talk about Delaney Walker. Remember, Delaney Walker put himself on our radar with a kickoff return for a touchdown in the preseason. There aren't very many tight ends that return kickoffs for touchdowns. Chiggy Okonkwo caught a short crossing route, maybe 5-10 yards past the line of scrimmage, and just pulled away from everybody. How many tight ends other than Vernon Davis? That's the only guy I can think of. Make defensive backs take bad angles. Johnny didn't even need to put him. I mean, sorry, Johnny. Thinking about Johnny Smith, another Tennessee rugged tight end, right? And Smith's got some speed, but the speed that Okonkwo showed on this play was. I can't wait to see what the chip data is of his top miles per hour, because he pulled away. So that's credit on Will Levis's stats, but really it was Okonkwo. And then you saw Tony Pollard. They said he was getting worn down. Tajay Spears was unable to play this week. Pollard looking like a true feature back. If we only could have had this Pollard last year with the opportunity he had in Dallas's offense, oh my, what that could have equaled for fantasy. It's still equaling something pretty good if you put him in, just because Spears was out against Washington. Even if Spears is back, Pollard's running really well. And going and looking over the hot seat among coaches, you would say, well, they're not going to fire Brian Callahan, kind of because they can't, not after just 1 year. But after this win, you say, okay, now you're talking your division leading team on the road. Will Levis isn't a long-term answer, but you can win when he's throwing a pick six. Just get more jiggy. Get jiggy with it. How is this guy not getting 3, 4, 5, 6 touches by design after what we saw in this game?
Yeah, beautiful, wonderful, and awesome. And why is it 2017 at halftime, and you saw that they went away from Joe Mixon?
Yeah.
What? What? You give him 30 carries all the time. And CJ Stroud, 247, 2 up and 2 down. Nico Collins, 5 for 92 and a touchdown. Cade Stover, 3 for 26 and a touchdown. Tank Dell, 3 for 72. Joe Mixon, 5 for 23 as a receiver, and then 14 for 22 as a rusher. All right. I mean, they're bottling up the run to be sure. But it didn't work the other way, trying to go, and only 33 passes. So
yeah,
there you have it, Houston.
Yeah, and Houston's had some losses that are really tough to swallow. Okay, you pick off Jared Goff 5 times, and you lose. Will Levis, I think they sacked him 7 times in the first half. 7 times in the first half. Might have even been all 8 sacks in the first half. You win. You're supposed to win when that happens. Sacks are, like a half a turnover or something like that? I mean, when you sack the quarterback that many times, you should win. Why didn't they win? Well, CJ Stroud, a little uneven, making some decisions that maybe he'd like to take back. They come out, they get an easy touchdown to Cade Stover right after a long kickoff return. You had a 56-yard catch by Collins. He gets a touchdown. He also, by the way, if you have Nico Collins, there was a 33-yard touchdown that got taken off the board by illegal shift. Joe Mixon, the veteran. You can't have 2 guys in motion at the same time, Joe. That's like high school football stuff, So if you had Nico Collins, that was another 10 points that you lost. Mixon contained, but still they had a chance to tie or take the lead late. The drive bogged down. Kaimi Fairbairn had like a, 25, 30-yard field goal just to tie the game, and he missed it. He missed the chip shot. He's a good kicker, so it happens to the best of them. And Houston losing these games, look, they still have basically a 3-game lead in the division. So they would need to collapse. Have we seen collapses this bad in the past? We have, but you still need the Colts to come on. We'll talk about them. So next week against Jacksonville, look, if Houston loses to Tennessee and Jacksonville in back-to-back games, well, maybe you get a little worried.
Maybe. Or as my people would say, Bloom, Shansa. Or Shansa not. Detroit 24, Indianapolis 6. Okay. Okay. This one is maybe not okay. For the Colts fans, the Lions fans, you're rolling 10-1 right now. Jared Goff, 269, no touchdowns, no INTs. Jameson Williams, 5 for 64. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 for 62. Timmy Pats, 4 for 55. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, 21 for 90 and 2 touchdowns. David Montgomery, 8 for 37 and 1 touchdown. Montgomery also had 36 yards receiving. Gibbs had 3 catches. So there you have it. Just kind of an easy one. A little cruise control there for Detroit on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, my mother-in-law is here staying with us for Thanksgiving. Very honored member. Very honored that she would come down and spend her Thanksgiving with us. And she's asking me how the Lions doing. And see, so I could only answer and say, she said, do they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl? And I feel like at this point, if they don't, I don't want to put this on them, but if they don't win the Super Bowl, it's going to be a disappointment this year. That's how well they're playing. I'm trying to say this is how much better they are than every other team, because it feels like, see, so you watch the Lions, and it feels like right now you have to play a nearly perfect game to beat them. And Indianapolis did not play a perfect game, although the defense for Indianapolis deserves some applause, holding them about 10 points under their average on the year. And it wasn't an explosive day for this offense, but it was good enough if you had David Montgomery before he left with a shoulder injury. Don't think we're going to see him on Thanksgiving. So it's going to be a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs. Don't rush out and get Netflix Reynolds or rush out and get Sione Vaki, because I just think they're going to do a lot more Jahmyr Gibbs. And of course, because all 3 touchdowns came on the ground, and because the Colts didn't do enough on offense to push the Lions and also played pretty good on defense, there wasn't anything to give you a spike week from an Amon-Ra St. Brown or Sam Laporta. Very disappointing. Khalif Raymond leaves with an injury, so Tim Patrick did better. Tim Patrick maybe what the heck flex on Thanksgiving against the Bears, and Jameson Williams, again, without the long touchdown, still good enough. So good enough. I mean, that's the thing about the Lions and where they are right now. They go on the road and they beat a team soundly 24-6 and say, yeah, that's good enough. Winning by 18, that's good enough. That's how good they are right now. For Indianapolis, you're mainly thinking, how could they be better?
Yes, Anthony Richardson, 172 through the air and 61 yards on the ground to lead the way. Jonathan Taylor, 35 yards rushing. Michael Pittman, 6 for 96. I mean, I guess I'll bring up Josh Downs, 3 for 27. I mean, hey, there you go. Alec Pierce, 1 for 39. Not a lot there. And of course, with scoring 6 points, you weren't expecting a lot going through this box score.
No, but it should have been so much better. It could have been so much better. Okay. And I know we sound like Anthony Richardson apologists, or I do at least. I'm Matt Waldman, Bob Harris. Bob's in the chat room. What's up? Josh Raymer in the chat room, by the way. What's up, Josh?
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Really nice. I mean, one of the nicest people, fantasy football or otherwise. But people aren't going to be very nice to Anthony Richardson, and they're going to look at 11 for 28 and they're say, "There we go again, Anthony Richardson." No, drops, players not able to get their feet down in bounds, penalties. Gosh, it felt like every time he made a play, you just look, there's going to be a penalty. So again, I know you've heard this before, a lot better than the stats indicate. And against a Lions defense that continues to ascend, especially in the running game, you knew Jonathan Taylor wasn't going to get anything going in this one. He'll be fine. Don't worry. He'll be fine. Against New England, New England had a pretty good day on the run defense against Miami. But Jonathan Taylor is going to be fine. Anthony Richardson will be fine. And for fantasy, I would go right back to the well against New England. Josh Downs leaves with a shoulder injury, the kind of injury would come down on the shoulder, collarbone, maybe. He was holding his helmet on the same side he landed, so maybe not. I don't think we're going to see him against New England. We'll see. But if that's the case, and Michael Pittman left also with a shoulder issue during this game, but he also had a solid game. Anthony Richardson is playing well enough that I will play Michael Pittman, especially if Josh Downs is out. And if Downs is out against New England, again, we saw what Miami did against New England today, maybe Alec Pierce. So Indy, I mean, this is a game that we knew they weren't going to win. I think you can flip a few plays and they at least could have made it interesting, made it competitive. But that's where they are as a team right now. And that's okay because the Anthony Richardson development is back on track. The long term is back on track. The short term, yeah, Detroit's a bump in the road for a lot of teams.
Yeah, the short term is Miami will pass them in the playoff run for the wild card round. Let's talk Vikings and Bears. And the Vikings get the win, 30-27, the final score. They're 9-2. Bears are 4-7. Sam Darnold out there throwing a couple of touchdowns and 330 yards. Most of it to Jordan Addison. My God, 8 for 162 and a touch. TJ Hawkinson getting the rest, 7 for 114. Don't make me do math. This doesn't leave a lot for everybody else, including Justin Jefferson, 2 for 27. All right, you have Justin Jefferson. Whatever. Stop bitching. 22 for 106 and 1 rushing touchdown for Aaron Jones. And yeah, it's a 3-point win, but there ain't no asterisk by this one for overtime, baby.
Yeah, it could have been comfortable. It could have been more comfortable. Okay. you saw, although again, Aaron Jones comes out, goal line fumble right away, but then he has a great game. And we were seeing this, and maybe it was just because of that chest injury for Jones. We saw this becoming more and more of a committee with Cam Akers, and the running game was not as effective as it was earlier in the year. It was very effective against a tough Bears defense, and Aaron Jones played really well in this one and came on to have a great game. And Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, not doing very much in this game, did draw long pass interference. Jordan Addison doing everything. Catching passes downfield, catching short touchdown, making plays in traffic, making plays at the sidelines. And there was a really strange moment in this one, though. Come on, NFL. So I guess they have these boundary cams, like right up the sideline, but they don't have them in every stadium. So the NFL, in their infinite wisdom, decided that you can use them on official challenges from New York, but you cannot use them on a coach's challenge because it might be unfair if some stadiums have the boundary cam and some don't. What? But then put it in every stadium. Or why would you not use it if you have it? That doesn't make any sense. But it's the NFL. And you saw in this game also, this game was kind of like that Washington-Dallas game where it seemed like Minnesota was in control, and then it escalated quickly. Darnold got hurt, came back. TJ Hawkinson was big in overtime, so we were wondering whether to trust him. I think we can trust him going forward now. And Minnesota, a hard-fought win, and maybe one that for the first time, instead of bringing up questions about Sam Darnold, answered some questions about Sam Darnold. And see, I saw some answers for Caleb Williams, even though how many more times do the Bears have to almost win a big game?
Yeah, almost. 32 of 47, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs for Caleb Williams. DJ Moore, 7 for 105 and a touch. Keenan Allen, 9 for 86 and a touch. And then Rome Odunze, 5 for 39. Cole Kmet, 7 for 64. DeAndre Swift, 3 for 35 as a receiver, also 13 for 30 as a runner. Roschon Johnson with a rushing touchdown. Caleb Williams leads the team in rushing with 33 yards. So away we go against that Vikings defense, which can swarm. They did sack him 3 times, Sigmund. Caleb Williams stood strong.
He did. And you just see the difference of no Shane Waldron. You just see how much more comfortable Caleb Williams is. And it was a comeback effort. This is a tough Minnesota defense, though. It was a comeback effort. The numbers got inflated because of that, but that's okay. We're going to see them play Detroit on Thanksgiving, so this could be a preview. Keenan Allen, a good play, even though he came in basically a game-time decision. DJ Moore gets a touchdown. And again, those touches by design. Rome Odunze a little bit late. He didn't have a very big game. Cole Kmet racked up some catches, especially as they were trying to come back late, and they did come back. They came back to send this game to overtime. You saw Roschon Johnson get a touchdown. DeAndre Swift was held in check, but he did have this play, and this is why, okay, the box score is one thing. What did we hear about Caleb Williams? We don't want to compare him to this player, but stylistically, there are moments that he reminds you of Patrick Mahomes. Wow, did he remind you of Patrick Mahomes on this play? Scrambling, basically heading straight for the sidelines, and he throws against his body, kind of flicks it with his wrist about 40 yards downfield to DeAndre Swift, who I think didn't pick up the ball until the last second, because how could Caleb Williams have even tried that throw? Why would he even think that's possible to make that throw? So DeAndre Swift sees it coming in, makes the catch, and those are the kinds of plays that make such a difference for the spirit of an offense, for the spirit of a defense, and make you see why would they have drafted Caleb Williams so high? Why was it such a big deal? Yes, this is why it was a big deal. And now for the Bears, expectations for this year, okay, maybe not this year, even though a month and a half into the season, we thought, well, maybe things are happening earlier than we expected. So, hey, no pressure. Go into Detroit on Thanksgiving. Let's see what you can do, maybe do better than Anthony Richardson in giving Detroit a run for their money.
All right, it is a Broncos show, as our guy Aldwin says here in the chat room. Broncos show, Broncos beat the Raiders, 29-19 the final score. It was a little bit closer than that, than the final score indicated, but a fourth quarter surge got it done for the Broncos. They're 7-5, and they have a nice 69% chance of making the postseason. The Raiders are 2-9, but they were plucky today, fake punts and all. Bo Nix, 273, 2 touchdowns, no INTs, both of them to court. 8 for 97, 2 touchdowns. Devon Vele, waiver wire. We're going to talk about him. 6 for 80. He's their second best receiver. Marvin Mims getting work more. That's great. Troy Franklin, a couple of catches. Awesome. Nobody at tight end does anything ever. Jaleel McLaughlin was the hot hand, but he also got hurt in this one. Came back, though, a little bit of an ankle thing. 7 for 44. He looked fine when he came back as well. Javonte had negative yards rushing, and Estime had 3 carries for 15 yards. So it's a nightmare. Avoid all Broncos back.
Right.
But start Bo Nix, start Cortland Sutton, start Devon Vele, and start that playoff talk on Dover and Cecil, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on 104.3 The Fan.
Yeah, because this team, it's a Bo Nix offense. See, I got some questions for you. I'm interviewing Broncos insider Cecil Lammey here. Catch him at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Is this the best Cortland Sutton has played in his career?
Yes.
Yeah. That worked out. Remember how many times he was supposed to get traded? There's nothing here on this team for him. And is it fair to say he wanted to stay? Or let me put it this way. He wasn't trying to get himself traded.
He just wanted what was fair. He got a little bit of bump in incentives, and he's coming through with that. And the Broncos are playing him unlike the Giants with Drew Lock.
Yes. So, and then Bo Nix. So the other question I want to ask Broncos insider Cecil Lammey, does Sean Payton trust Bo Nix?
1,000%. He didn't earlier.
Right.
We talked about it on the show. Like, when he's going to take the training wheels off. And then, of course, he went to New Orleans to show off because he's the smartest guy in the room, and he discovered electricity. And ever since that New Orleans game, ever since the first Raiders game when Bo yelled at Sean, Sean gets off on that, dude.
Yeah, it gains respect. It gains Peyton's respect, I think, that Nix is as crazy as he is. And that's a good thing. And Bo Nix has arrived for fantasy, and Bo Nix has arrived as a team leader, and Bo Nix has arrived as a downfield passer. And he can make not just Cortland Sutton a fantasy viable receiver, maybe Devon Vele will also be a fantasy viable receiver, although you don't get to play Vegas every week, but you do get to play Cleveland next week. We'll see what the weather is, but that's not a good pass defense either. And then otherwise, the backfield, it's Sean Payton. He's a prankster. He's playing a joke on us. Don't play a Broncos back. I don't care what they did the week before. I don't care what he said. I don't care about any fantasy. I don't even care if Cecil tells you to play Broncos back. You're not playing a Broncos back for the rest of this year.
Yeah. Raiders side, Brock Bowers was shut down. It's probably the only player, maybe Jacoby Myers, you trusted. 10 for 121. Bowers had 4 for 38. Trey Tucker, 7 for 82. It was Sincere McCormick. If you're a UTSA fan or remember him a few years ago, what's their mascot for University of Texas San Antonio?
Is it the Roadrunners?
I should know. I believe it is the Roadrunners, right? Because I should know because I love Reek Woolen. We get some UTSA guys once in a while, and some of them can play.
It is the Roadrunners.
Okay, good job. And it didn't freeze up your computer. The internet. Maybe. So slow down. 2:30, 1 up, 1 down for Gardner Minshew. And the Raiders are just thinking about next year. And Antonio Pierce, they tried, man, but he'll get replaced by Mike Vrabel. They will totally interview everyone that they need to per NFL rule, but they're going to hire Mike Vrabel, and away we go.
Yeah, away we go. And Gardner Minshew gets hurt at the end of this one. I don't know if Aiden O'Connell's going to be ready for the game on Friday. So maybe we'll see Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder hooked up with Trey Tucker. So that's, what the heck flex. But again, no buys in week 13. You might not need to go deep on your what the heck flex. Jacoby Myers, much more than what the heck flex. And Brock Bowers, like you said, Cease, they took him away. And that's the respect that Brock Bowers gets. And that's okay. For fantasy, you'll take that. This is a floor game at tight end. You'll take that. The rug pull here in the backfield was Dylan Laube, who was supposed to get a chance to redeem himself, looked really good on a kick return, but fumbled the ball at the end of the kick return. And I guess Antonio Pierce said, no thanks. So we got a lot of Amir Abdullah. If you played him as a what the heck flex, that came through for you. If you played Dylan Laube, well, I did too in a few of my matchups. So no points for kick return fumbles. It was a 0. And yeah, headed towards, again, another team headed towards a high pick, and see if they'll play spoiler on Black Friday. Yeah, you don't really need to watch that game. Don't encourage Roger Goodell on Friday.
Yeah, that's right. Or Jeff Bezos, right? Don't encourage, I don't know, Brandon Allen.
Don't encourage Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I mean, they were one of the teams that were maybe kind of interested in Daniel Jones.
Well, and see, do we get back to the Kirk Cousins talk now next year?
Yeah, we do.
Believe that.
That just happened. Well, it happened a little while ago. We're here to talk about it now. The 49ers lose and never really. It's Brandon Allen. Like, for the love of God, It's Brandon Allen. Didn't someone set his car on fire when he was in college, right? Because he was starting and he was struggling.
I got to look this one up.
I think I asked him about it
Okay.
years ago. Which Allen am I misremembering? Brandon
Kyle
Allen?
Allen? I don't know.
No, it was Brandon. I'm pretty
Arkansas
sure.
Allen. Yeah.
Yeah. And someone, I think it was when he was a freshman, like he was losing, and they set his car on fire in the dorm parking lot.
Jeez.
If I'm mistaken, please forgive me, Bloom, and please correct me. So there you go. I mean, this is what you get. Brandon Allen, 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT in a game that you're down and you're just pass, and you just can't get in it. And only 29 passes, by the way. Only 16 carries. Didn't really have the ball that much. George Kittle, 6 for 82 and a touch. He did enough. Juwan Jennings, 5 for 40. It's enough. Christian McCaffrey, 11 for 31 and then 3 for 37. It's not great, Bob, but might have been enough. Debo, 1 for 21. You know, this is just where you're at right now with San Francisco, and it's not great, Bob.
Yeah, where you're at is maybe swirling down the drain. Maybe the season is swirling down the drain. Okay. Let's take an inventory. Brock Purdy couldn't really pass in practice this week, had an MRI, and Adam Schefter, with a terrific Adam Schefter is a tweetsmith. Okay. Where Adam Schefter decides to put commas, very specific words he chooses. So what he puts out this morning basically is, basically something along the lines of, hopefully, or they believe, the 49ers believe Brock Purdy will be able to play next week against Buffalo, but they believed he was going to be able to play this week. And he's having an MRI on Monday, I think. So sounds like, based on all of our internet doctors, and they give us some good stuff, that, the word about the MRI was it's clean, mostly clean. So a small tear, which you can play through, but not good. And probably the offense is going to be not good, better than it would be with Brandon Allen. Now, you would think that this would show the 49ers the value of Brock Purdy and set them up to pay him a big contract. But I'm telling you, Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix is there, and no trade clause for Cousins. But I think, Cecil, would Kirk Cousins waive his no trade clause to get traded to the 49ers? Yeah, he would definitely do that. So just this was the first day, I think, that you could really say, okay, now this is very much in the realm of possibilities. Also in the realm of possibilities that we've just seen the best of Christian McCaffrey, and we're not going to see Christian McCaffrey again as we saw before this Achilles thing. He didn't look like Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he didn't look like the Christian McCaffrey we expected whenever we drafted him #1 overall. And I think you have to have at least in your mind the possibility, because Jordan Mason looked better. I mean, Jordan Mason looked better in this running game. Okay. Christian McCaffrey playing Christian McCaffrey style without Christian McCaffrey explosiveness, no bueno. Okay. Christian McCaffrey is not yet one of those players who, in the autumn of his career, has figured out, I need to change how I play because of my physical limitations. So we'll see. I don't know if Christian McCaffrey is going to get shut down at some point this year. You can't shut down George Kittle. We know that George Kittle is going to survive, the apocalypse, cockroaches and George Kittle. But otherwise, for fantasy, Juwan Jennings did okay. It wasn't a complete disaster, but that's not what you were looking for. Deebo Samuel, if it wasn't for a trick play, would have done almost nothing. So this looked like a feeble team. Okay. They're only a game out of first, but it sure feels like the season is slipping away as they shuffle off to Buffalo.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Let's talk that Green Bay Packers football. And Josh Jacobs a little bit banged up. Is that right? Did I see that correct, Bloom? Again, please correct me if I'm wrong. My brain is failing at times.
Yeah, because he got tackled 3 times on every play because the 49ers couldn't tackle him. So that'll do that. It's like 26 carries, but really like 70 hits because the 49ers couldn't wrap up.
The hits keep coming with those 3 rushing touchdowns for Josh Jacobs. Romeo, 3 for 54. Tucker Kraft, 2 for 26 and a touchdown. Malik Heath, 2 for 15 and a touchdown. Dontavian Wicks, doesn't matter. Jaden Reed, 3 for 26. And then Christian Watson, 3 targets, no catches. Hey, there you go, everybody. Yeah. So your Green Bay Packers receivers are going to carry a certain level of frustration.
They are. Bob Harris tells us, the sage Bob Harris tells us in the chat, leg cramps for Jacobs.
Yes.
So again, because he just got tired because he carried the whole offense, really. Now, on one hand, you're seeing a morph into a low volume. It's the Malik Willis offense, low volume passing, physically dominate them in the running game, and just let the defense do their thing. And that was a really good recipe for an easy win for Green Bay. Now, Christian Watson dropped one of the easiest touchdowns you'll ever see dropped. Truly, unbelievably easy, long touchdown that he dropped. Or we would be talking about, well, Jordan Love is a success even on a day that the Packers go light in the passing game. Now, Miami's defense is coming on. I'm not sure that Jordan Love is going to be a preferred option as far as the receivers. Romeo Doubs left with a concussion, playing on Thanksgiving night. Don't think we're going to see Dobbs. So that makes you a little less afraid of playing Jaden Reed or Tucker Kraft or Christian Watson or Dontavian Wicks for the ceiling. But if Green Bay's defense is good, you may only see Jordan Love throw the ball 17, 20, 22 times. And we'll see about Josh Jacobs on a short week. But hey, they'll run some Emmanuel Wilson. They'll run some Chris Brooks, not Marshawn Lloyd because of appendicitis. But this is just fine. For fantasy, it may frustrate us unless you had Josh Jacobs. But for Green Bay, who's headed to, when you're in a division with Detroit, you're headed to a wild card spot, but this team has a recipe. Jordan Love needs to limit mistakes, which the best way to do that might be to see limiting his pass attempts. Josh Jacobs is everything that they had hoped he would be. And again, there's at least one game that will be worth watching after the Detroit game, not the Giants and Dallas, but Dolphins, Packers, a pretty intriguing matchup.
Yeah, we'll see about that one. See if the Packers can make that statement at home. We got one more to wrap up. Seattle and Arizona, 16-6. Seattle 6-5. Cardinals are 6-5. Kyler Murray, 285, no touchdowns, one pick. Trey McBride, everything, 12 for 133. Trey McBride, Fort Morgan, Colorado. He enjoys his Colorado bloom, I'll tell you that. Mike Wilson, 2 for 54. Marvin Harrison Jr., 3 for 47. James Conner, 5 for 41 as a receiver. And then 7 carries for 8 yards as a runner. Trey Benson, 18 yards. Amari DeMarcado, 14 yards. So there you have it. Can't run, can't win, can't score.
Yeah.
If you're Arizona.
Yeah. All of a sudden, this division tightens up. Arizona, the hottest team in the division going into their bye, coming out of their bye, ice cold. And hats off to Mike McDonald and this Seattle defense, which is really stepping up against divisional opponents. So now they are in a tie for first place. Yes, Seattle Seahawks in a tie for first place in the division. Getting this win, very important because, well, maybe their best competition. We'll see what the Rams are going to do against the Eagles. You had Trey McBride and not much else. Not much else. Marvin Harrison Jr., tough matchup. The corners for Seattle are a good matchup. And as far as matching his length, matching his strength, matching his speed, they can do that. This game should have been, we talked about this on the preview show, Cecil. Is this going to be an offensive game or is this going to be one of those NFC West defensive struggles? Boy, was it a defensive struggle. In fact, it was a defensive touchdown for Seattle that made it comfortable at the end. And it was a terrible, terrible, terrible decision by Kyler Murray. And let's give some credit to Devin Witherspoon. And this is a cornerback making this play. I want to remind you. Devin Witherspoon, first of all, overplays the run. He's crashing down on the mesh point, realizes that Kyler Murray is instead taking the ball out wide, immediately closes and is bearing down on Kyler Murray, who forces Murray to just kind of throw the ball away like, oh, they want to hurt me. Like Steve Martin the jerk. They want to shoot these cans. He hates these cans. He hates these cans. I can never do any quote correctly. That's how you know it's actually me. He hates, like Kyler Murray's like, oh, he hates this football. Just get it away from me, and he'll leave me alone. Except he threw it right to Kobe Bryant. Not that Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace. But and that's it. I mean, that was pretty much all it took. Connor got some catches, so at least you got bailed out there. But these teams, week to week, the variance of the NFL. But what you're seeing from Seattle playing under Mike McDonald is heart, and you're seeing they have a true number one receiver, and it's not DK Metcalf.
Yep. All right. Oh, wait, Seattle.
Yeah.
Geno, 254, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Kenneth Walker, 16 for 41. JSN, 6 for 77 and a touch. DK, 4 for 59. Walker also had 4 for 52. Tyler Lockett, then our very own Dave Kluge loved my Tyler Lockett joke. So thank you, Chris, for posting at FBG Clips. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Oh, let's talk Seattle, and let's wrap this one up, baby.
Yeah, and the main thing you need to know here is in any game script, Jack Smith-Njigba is going to come through. He's going to come through at the goal line. He's going to come through downfield. He's going to come through as a target, even on a day they don't need much offense. DK Metcalf's going to stay in your lineup. Kenneth Walker did enough, like James Conner, as a receiver, even though he didn't have a big game. As again, this was a defensive struggle. But you look at this division, and you know that whatever team comes out of this division, maybe even still the 49ers, Brock Purdy rallies and his shoulder holds together, they're going to be battle tested. You win this division, you're going to be battle tested because all of these games are physical battles, and it's going to determine who wins this division. So it's kind of like a tournament to see who gets in, and the team that does get in is going to be very dangerous.
Very, very dangerous. Any final thoughts, Sigmund Bloom?
Yeah, just we're seeing these divisional battles. We're seeing which teams are still playing for their coaches and which ones are not. Right now, we're seeing A.J. Brown get a touchdown right before halftime as the Eagles on the road. And the Eagles are trying to show, hey, as Washington's fading, not only are the Eagles the best team in the division, maybe they're the best threat to the Lions. So we'll see. Philadelphia, they get to play Baltimore next week. So that's going to be something to look forward to. So Philadelphia is another team that could be battle tested, beating teams that are good teams or teams that at least know how to play like good teams when everything is on. And for fantasy, we're turning the corner into the fantasy playoffs. We're here for you, everybody. We love you. It's going to be an abbreviated week. Most important for Thanksgiving, not your fantasy football teams, is with being with people that you care about, whoever they are, being thankful, being grateful. See something grateful for you. I'm grateful for Brian Sumner and Josh Raymer and Bob Harris and Charlie and all these wonderful people in our chat room, brighten my spirits. And it powers us. This is that part of the season when I think I can. And why do we think we can? Because of the power that you all give us with your attention and your love and all of your graciousness always. So we're very, very fortunate to be here. Thanks to you.
I don't know what to do with my hands. All right, that's a wrap. He's Sigmund Bloom. I'm Cecil Lammey. We are the Audible. Everyone, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. If videos pop up while we're talking, please click on them now or at your leisure. I ask nicely. He's Sig. I'm Cecil. We are the Audible. Follow us at Sigmund Bloom, at Cecil Lammey, at the Audible. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty.